Welcome to episode 590 whatever. Just fuck it.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 590 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Paul E. Cooley. Joining me, as always, Mr. Terry Sidetracked Mixon. How the hell are you, and why are you sidetracked?
I'm tired. I sidetracked because I've been working on website design, something that I have no skills with.
I don't know. I saw what you did. It was all right. It's good enough.
It only took me 4 or 5 days to do it and get my books all set up the way I wanted to. So I wouldn't say that I'm exactly cut out for it, even if I could figure my way through mostly what I wanted to do.
I think that's bullshit.
That plugin you said I didn't need to buy, I still had to buy it.
Okay.
Just to do one thing, to change the font.
Wow.
Because I don't know how to edit CSS and don't know what I would be doing there.
Okay. Well, you know, when I install my theme, I'll take a look at that.
Just the default theme was a little spidery, and I needed to up the weight so it wasn't thin. It was actually normal width. So it starts with the default being little spidery letters.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, it's easy to fix.
I'm sure it is for somebody that actually knows it. Whereas for me, I paid $35 for that plugin and was able to change it in about 2 seconds flat and be happy with it. So how much is my time worth? Apparently worth enough to buy that plugin.
Apparently worth 5 days.
Well, the problem is some of it I spent probably half a day on various errors, maybe as much as a full day on various things that I couldn't figure out the language of how to make it do it exactly the way I wanted it to. Like I can do a 2-column piece that has an image on one side and text on the other, but I can't put a button at the bottom of the text. It wouldn't let me. And so I had to end up just eventually saying screw it and putting the bottom below both of them. So that was annoying, but I managed to at least do that. But I tried for hours trying to figure out how to do the right language, how to figure out making it work, and was unable to do so for that one. But other things I solved and figured out how to do. The rest of it, since I didn't have a library plugin like this theme has, all of the books that I had were on their own individual pages. So I had to go ahead and move that from each individual page and create a library entry.
Okay, right.
So that took a fair chunk of time. And adding a page of audio where I'm putting the samples up on SoundCloud and creating links for each of it. Each of those things was time spent for every single book. That's why it took so long and was so mind-numbing.
Sounds like I can make some money here by developing a plugin that did that for you.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how you would make that plugin work. But that's why you're a programmer and I'm not.
I am not a programmer. I am a software developer.
Oh, pardon me. Frenchy foo-foo.
No, if you were, don't make me pull out my software architect badge. Don't make me do that. Because then we'll embarrass both of us.
As Ruby Rod would say.
Okay. Fine. Be that way.
But in any case, I spent all day today because I finally got the new pages set up and the redirects the way that I wanted them. So I changed the links in my books to point to the new redirects and uploaded all of my catalog again. So that all the books are live with links that actually go to my site as opposed to going directly to Amazon, because I want to go to my site where they can click a button so that I can use the associates program to go ahead and, increase my income. But I had to have everything set.
Yeah, that's something I have to do as well at some point here. Actually, now that gonna get Trident up and running and all that garbage, that's something it'll be a really good thing to do before next book release, whenever that is.
Just watch. It's gonna take you like 12 minutes to get your site figured out. And I'm gonna be like coming over to your house and just beat you up or something.
I don't think so. Although, while you were speaking, I was like, what would I need to basically reproduce the theme that I've got that I'm using for this other project? Or do they have a theme that would work for that project? I could develop my own CRM and not have to ever deal with WordPress again. Put the admin on a different URL, put the main app on a different URL so that never the twain shall meet. And Anyway, I digress.
Anyway, it's all plain enough to where I can maintain it. So I'm happy with the end result. It looks much more modern, much cleaner. And I've got all the various things on there that I want. Come here, sweetie.
Oh, no. Look out, folks. There's about to be a cat sighting. If Terry ever appears again. Oh, there we go.
This is Princess. She very rarely comes into my room. She stays in the room on the other end of the hall. She is deaf, and so she doesn't like traveling around. She's gained a lot of weight, but she's still very skittish. Oh, nose. The sound of unhappy cat.
The sound of unhappy kitten. That's terrible.
You poor girl. She says, I don't know why I was yelling. There you go. She wanted to explore and Dad picked her up. Not exactly what she was looking for.
Probably not, but, still made her warm the cockles of her dead heart.
What were we mocking before a cat came along to enliven us?
What was I mocking? I wasn't mocking anything. I don't think I was mocking anything.
Well, okay. When are you going to get around to updating your website, since it's going to, take you all of like 12 minutes to make it happen? But in any case, I know what I'm saying. I can change my theme now. Now I understand all the various pieces, parts. So maintenance and addition is not going to be too difficult now that I have it the way I want it.
Right. Which is kind of what you want. Until they break your theme.
Let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon.
Roll back. Yeah, we can talk about that later. Well, as for me, my voice is a little stronger today. Last night I got 7 hours of sleep. It was exciting. 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Talking about how I'm getting better and then I'm going to die. So you're going to have to forgive me if I take a cough drop. What else have I been up to? Trying to get through the damned end of this book.
You're never going to get to the end of this book.
Don't say that.
It's going to turn into a bridge novel.
No, please don't say that. Is there such a thing as a bridge series? No.
Baby.
Meanwhile, due to Hamwavium, this shit's going on while this shit's going on 50 years in the past while this is...
And meanwhile, in a future book, it all collides when the quantum gate opens and everybody shows up at the same place at the same time.
Battle for the universe. Yeah, the ticket for my trip to the psychiatric ward just showed up.
And by the ticket, you mean the two guys with the straitjacket.
Yeah. I think the ticket is actually called a warrant.
Well, here, Mr. Cooley, we got this here warrant for your arrest and incarceration at the House of Mental Education.
Mental education?
Mental education. That's
mental
what we're
restitution.
Going to do. Mental restitution. The House of Mental Restitution. I dare you to make that the subject of the story.
I don't think I have enough cynical, ironic bones in my body to make that story work without it being a complete and total farce, which I guess is what it would have to be in the first place. Shadow, seriously, do you have to do cat yoga on my cords?
She's staring at me from down the hall going, could you consider coming down here and giving me a FUD? Because I loves FUD.
Right.
It is. She's got a spot. She'll sit right inside the door down there and stare at you.
Well, good for her. How dare she? I just don't know anymore. You've so confused me now. Where the fuck was I?
You were about to tell us that everything is gold in your life. You got 7 hours of sleep.
Oh, that's right. Unfortunately,
Keko was like soaking up all the warmth of your Mac Mini.
Mac Mini, I like that. Mac Mini.
Mini me.
No, it was Shadow, and he decided to do a little cat yoga on the Mac Mini and thus disturb all my cords. And now he's glaring at me because he's good at it.
Because as a cat.
Yeah, something like that. Been coding. I got podcasting done. Some administrative bullshit. A lot of research, actually. And God, there were so many science stories this week that were just bonkers. And they just kept grabbing me over and over again. So it's been kind of an interesting week for brainstorming and writing stuff down. So I think I outlined another 3 books last night before I went to bed. I don't know how I'm going to write all this shit.
You're going to have to go ahead and submit yourself to the House of Mental Restitution.
Yeah, just lock me up, feed me, and let me dream, and we'll be cool. You know, don't need to do anything else. Just let that happen. Just play the stories out in my head and put them on paper.
You know, I think in a future society, they should kidnap writers, extract their personalities from their brains and put them into computers, and then bring them to life so that they think they're in the real world and writing, but it's only like taking minutes to write entire novels, and they're just publishing them and reaping in the cash and then resetting the writer back to a new story.
Or it could be in a world without imagination, where imagination has died, essentially. These are the only storytellers that are left. And so they have to transfer them into some kind of SI entity that they can then enslave.
Yeah, but then the writers could write total dreck because nobody would really know the difference because they have no imagination.
Yes, but that is part of their job, is to try and spark that.
Or they've been perverted so that they try to suppress it by their writings.
That's kind of evil. That's even more evil than where I was going to go. That's more hopeless than I was willing to go. Wow. That's kind of scary. See, now we're pontificating again into and diving into the realm of mental masturbation. I mean, what the hell is this show about?
Thought strokes, obviously.
Thought strokes?
Mm-hmm.
All right, pardon me while I go huff something off that dream bong over there, and I'll join you in the episode. Be very.
That was a masturbation joke. You probably shouldn't join me in that.
That part may be cut out just for the patrons. Or rather cut in for the patrons. Nobody else. Nobody else. Because, wow. I was over the top for some reason. What's the intersection between the world that an alien race has versus what humans have?
The intersection is what the two want that they share in common. If it's land mass, if they share a biosphere that they can cohabitate in, there's your war. They're going to be fighting over resources. If it's something else that they share, it's got to be an intersection of things that both desire or both loathe. That has to be the intersection between aliens and humanity. Because if there's no connection, then there's no reason they would ever stop.
No reason for them to try and communicate. It would just be, what is this?
Oh, look, more hairless monkeys. Let's move on to the next system.
More hairless monkeys? I see what you did there. I see what you did there. But what if it's the humans keep coming across them? That changes the story, does it not?
It depends. if they've got their alien equivalent of a no trespassing sign up, and every time a human shows up, he gets his face lasered in, that might be a problem.
Look, it's attempt 997. Well, yeah.
Or they show up and they just can't get in. It's like you're held out because they're in this massive alien obelisk, which you can't even figure out how to get into. They're doing alien things and you have no idea.
That was that scene in The Expanse, what, season 3? The third book.
Never seen it, so don't know.
Okay, never mind. They had there's an interesting part where basically it's the same thing that's in Three Body Problem in that series, Remembrance of Earth's Past. Sorry, that they were talking about slow time and slow grav. So essentially they slow down gravity, so you come through or increase gravity in an area, and basically it makes space-time solid to your perspective. So they could bring you from 30,000 kilometers per second to 0 in a nanosecond.
Watch out for that momentum, buddy.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. Suddenly you've been squashed into 2D. That's not a good look for us. 3D animals, not a good look. Going into 2D. Ooh. How would we exist as somebody who could see in 4D?
Since we can't envision what 4D would look like, we wouldn't have a clue.
Wow, we just make shit up as we want to go, huh?
Well, why not? It worked for Doc Smith.
Is that what he had, interdimensional beings? Or just
he had in part of his Skylark of Space series, they had some of the heroes translated into a higher dimension with 4 or 5 dimensions. I can't remember, instead of the usual 3. And basically it was lots of hand wavium. The descriptions were kind of, weird and alien. And he layered it in by saying humans just couldn't understand that because they didn't have the right frame of reference to understand the higher dimensions.
I think that's correct. I think we would need an intermediary. I mean, theoretically,
a translation layer. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. It would need to find some way to visualize that.
Shorthand. Man. It turns them into stick figures.
Relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking.
This is the most incredible 8 or 16K image I've ever seen. What are you sending him? That's stick figures.
Porn. What else?
4D porn. Come on.
Ouch. I don't know that I want to know what that is.
Like I said, translation layer.
Somebody gets a hold of the large array and sends porn into space, and suddenly the alien armada shows up to take revenge. What happened? Where did this come from?
You made our race extinct.
I think you just insulted them.
Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. So do we as authors even try and explain that?
Our job as authors isn't to describe everything we see in slavish detail. Our job as authors is to inspire the imagination of others to help fill in the blanks that we can't describe. We give enough information to lay the broad outlines and the amount of specificity that we need to get a mental image there. And some people go out of their way to write detailed scenes in modern day, but you can't do it for something that is alien to our nature, because by its very nature, there's no common words you can use to describe it. Again,
translation layer. So maybe to put that into...
How would you describe Cthulhu?
Oh, when I think of the elder gods, they're not really describable.
That's the point.
They defy description in general.
Horrific that your mind cannot comprehend what it is seeing.
So basically what it turns into, maybe in memory, because your brain rejects it, is it turns into something you're familiar with, like a sea creature, like something amorphous. It may just be it gets on the edge of that uncanniness, and then before it flows into something else that is just as bad or worse. And maybe the longer you stare at it, the more your brain, for Lovecraftian horror games, it would be sanity. Your sanity goes down very, very rapidly the more you look at it. That is something you can carry across into any realm. That's not just a horror thing.
It's true. But again, you can't describe it. And for the most part, you don't try to.
Translation layer. Memory.
Translation layer.
Memory, emotion, feeling, scent. What did it do? It's not just vision, because I think if you were in the presence of that, it would do something to you. Some part of it would be expressed in another realm of sense.
You would suddenly be able to taste a violet.
Right. Right. God, it sounds like a really bad acid trip.
In some ways, I think a Lovecraftian horror pretty much is the definition of a bad acid trip.
Well, that's something you can completely, put in any genre of spec-fic.
Sure.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's a good way to describe. But I mean, you could also use it in other realms. Maybe the translation layer is it turns the fourth dimension into another sense, like sensation. So there's some realm of communication with the fourth dimension that is image, and to make up for the layer that's missing, the translation layer gets it as emotion and conveys it that way instead of words, because it is the closest way it can communicate with our brains.
So as the horror gets closer, the very mild sadness that you felt becomes outright wretched sobbing and crying the closer it gets.
Or it could be something else entirely. It could be a benevolent force. Suddenly, everybody's randy as hell.
Quick, everybody, we got to, oh my God. Oh my God.
Spontaneous orgies out in the streets.
Don't look, Ethel.
Or it could just be everybody has a really goddamn good day. There were no murders today, no assaults, no car wrecks, and everybody's like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Random.
There was nothing but good news today.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
Yeah, it's all the Truman Show. But why not? It doesn't have to be dark and dreary and miserable and everything else. What if the opposing force to that?
We were talking Lovecraftian horror, so it felt appropriate.
Yeah, but now I'm talking love. I'm saying the door swings both ways.
So in this case, it is the goddess Aphrodite coming back to Earth, and suddenly the love fest begins.
Perhaps. Or that's the romance fest, whereas when Bacchus shows up,
that's the party.
That's the orgy. That's a completely different animal. Exactly. Something simple like that. It could be aliens, it could be elder gods, it could be demons and angels. It doesn't really matter. Stick whatever reason you want together there, put whatever face you want on it, and there you go. That would be an interesting translation.
It's so strange that all you do is you hear clown noise honks. What does this even mean? No one understands.
It's something that cannot be translated other than into honks. What's the context of the honk? You'll either get it or you won't.
Or somebody comes up with a noise horn honks. Everybody but one guy laughs. Nothing's what? I do not understand.
All right, you're the translator. Get your ass over here. Oh, there's another thing. They take like 10 humans, throw them in a room, and start messing with them to pick out which one can actually understand that layer. Which one of
9
these?
people go insane, 1 becomes a translator.
One becomes a translator. And the insanity can range all over the place. It can range all over the place, but that is an interesting concept too. I like that. I like that. That is definitely
Maybe,
something.
you know, maybe that needs to be somebody that can interface with your AIs. Most people go insane, 1 becomes a translator.
I actually was thinking about that the other day. And again, pardon me, folks, I have to, my throat is all messed up from my medicine. Anyway, yeah, what would be that translation layer? That's what we were talking about earlier, is the AI shorthand, quantum shorthand for transmission. I mean, it's one thing to do it instantaneously, but you need to make the packets pretty damn small. I don't know what they would be called, but think about packets. And don't you dare crunch ice on this show. I'll kick your ass.
One Piece I snuck in.
Motherfucker. Now I have to edit shit. You made me very angry. I have to edit shit in this show already. Because I can't keep my damn mouth shut. La-oo is the error. Anyway. Exactly. Translation layer. I like it. The whole story is right there. All you got to do is put in the character.
And there you've got your title for your novel, Lost in Translation.
Oh, I would never go that. I would never. No.
It's now stuck in your head. You're not going to be able to get rid of it. It's just hanging out there.
No, that's one I can definitely live without. That is not a title I would go anywhere near. I would do something else. I don't know what I would call it. I wasn't ready to brainstorm a title. Quantum syntax.
Quantum syntax error.
Quantum overflow.
Quantum stack overflow.
It's too many words. It just doesn't. It doesn't flow. It doesn't flow to me. You got to find the right thing, like quantum personality disorder, where it makes sense and yet absolutely does not make sense at all. I love that title. That's a catcher.
I could tell.
You could tell. What other translation layers might we need? Well,
if you've got a translation layer, maybe you've got an encryption layer.
How would that work?
If you're sending data from one place to another, you've got to turn it into those quantum packets. So it has to have a transition from one state to another. And then on the other end, be unpacked and taken back into the state that it was originally in.
Okay.
How that would relate to a story? That's a lot more challenging.
And let's try
what if only a certain kind of person can both comprehend the fullness of the quantum statement, but it can be shrunken down because they're human. It's part of their nature.
Are they folding it or unfolding it?
Both. You would have to have somebody do it on one end and somebody to reliably do it on the other.
So that could also be there could be multiple people with that discipline. One who specializes in mathematics, physics, another one for syntactical or lexical, another one who knows how to convert it into politics or resource management or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Now, who would choose these people?
Obviously, our alien overlords that meant to enslave us.
Do they have to be overlords, though?
Why else would anybody do this on their own? There would have to be a reason.
Uplift?
That's not what I meant. Why would a human being cooperate? Why would a human being do this?
Because it's considered a matter of humanity's survival?
So a threat.
A threat.
Either do this for us or you get squished.
Or if you do this for us, it will allow you to keep yourselves from getting squished.
But you see, that's what I mean when I say alien overlords. It's because it's not an option. Because human beings on their own, they're out of your benevolence, humanity, please go ahead and do this thing for us. Oh, I don't think so. That's not humanity, buddy. That's not how this works.
Depends on what was offered in return.
Well, maybe the right kind of bribes would be worthwhile, but it seems like the aliens would be more inclined to use force.
Or if they recruited the humans, they may have recruited them by force, so to speak, or done the horrible things, but really they're offering them a gift.
I just kind of took us all the way off course on this one.
I know. We were going somewhere and you veered us into a black hole.
Well, pull us back out to where you want to go. You're running this show.
Speaking of which, supposedly, if I can find the article again, I'll probably include it in the show notes. Paul, if you're watching this, which you have to because Terry's fucked it up so bad, you have to go edit a lot of shit. Remember to get that. I hope I cut that out. And I mean the context of what you just did. I hope I cut that out.
So this part is going to be here, and the patrons are going to be like, "What the hell is he even doing? What are they talking about?"
No. I'm talking about the main show. If I include this, the patrons get to see the whole thing and know the joke, but the other people will miss the context completely. Yeah, we'll see who really watches the Patreon patron show. We'll see. We'll find out. We'll find out how many of you actually watch or listen to this, Drek. Wow, I moved so much my camera got confused. Poor camera. You pulled us off course again. God damn it.
Black holes. You were talking about a news article.
News article was saying that, or the news article was saying, passive voice here. The news article said, or summarized this abstract these guys posted on, I don't remember which research site it was, but their paper. I did not know this, but evidently we have some kind of satellite or something built somewhere that is designed to pick up waves of gravity. Okay. Supposedly it detected something.
Alert, humanity, alert.
And what they're saying they're detecting is background from the Big Bang or something along those lines, where like 8 black holes, micro black holes. I can't describe it. You have to read the article, but essentially what we're saying was like all dark matter is composed from like 4 or 5 black holes that went crazy.
All right.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let me find that article. It was cool. Now love the paragraph.
Similar to an article that I read that wasn't talking about that. It was saying that they believed that they could detect the remains of previous universes in the cosmic background radiation because of the way that black holes decay over time and the effect they leave in the cosmic background radiation.
All right, we may be talking about 2 different things, 2 different articles I somehow squished together in my mind.
It's sort of the same kind of subject, but the contents are radically different.
Well, there was one point. Okay, I'll go back. I think maybe I got the 2 articles squished together in my skull. Regardless, there's some weird. There was some stuff posted that hit my weird shit-o-meter. But the last paragraph of the thing on gravity waves was the one I found most interesting, which was one of the physicists was like, yeah, until there's further study, we should remain skeptical. It's like, okay.
Well, as you know, most scientific breakthroughs are accompanied by the words, "Huh, that's weird."
Or, what were you smoking when you came up with that? Although there's the other article, they found Einsteinium, or they can create Einsteinium now in a stable way, or they detected it. It's really bizarre shit.
That's brilliant.
They use it for, they detected it, I think, from the original atomic bomb, which I guess is where it came from, I'm guessing. I looked up Einsteinium to see if it was a real thing because I've never heard of it. I was like, okay, let me go check and see if this is real. And yeah, sure enough, it is. It's a theoretical element. Or was.
But it's apparently no longer theoretical.
It's apparently no longer theoretical. So they have found it. And they found a way, I think, to make it stable, which is interesting.
Okay. My joke in the middle of that just flew right past you is when I went, that's brilliant because Einstein. So just keep right on marching.
All right. Somehow I missed that completely.
I was like, I'm going to say this and he's going to give me the look. Nope. Didn't even impinge.
Well, I've gotten so used to ignoring so much of things that you say. Anyway, there was a whole list of theoretical elements that kind of came after that I was looking at, and or ones that they have observed. They had a half-life of like a picosecond or something ridiculous before it vanished into thin air, which is kind of a terrifying idea if we can manufacture something that has that kind of half-life before it just decays into nothing.
It's not a half-life then.
Well, it could be a half-life. Depends on where it starts out.
Do you know how half-lives work?
Yeah, radioactive decay.
Over the period of time, the amount of radioactivity is halved again and again and again. Right. It doesn't go from exist to not exist. That's not half-life.
It could be observationally. That's what it appears to do.
Maybe it's secretly stealthing out of sight because it's intelligent.
I don't want people to see me decay. I don't want them to see me to die.
So we've gotten, way off track here.
Really?
I blame you for this.
You blame me. I had something I was going off on something and then you just... It's really funny. Your brain again goes to the darker places and my brain went to the lighter side of things. It's still very interesting. You wanted to immediately set it up as some kind of combat system. We're enslaved, whereas it's kind of like, yeah, we're kind of all fucked. So
I just don't see humanity cooperating with somebody doing something so esoteric without there being a stick involved, because I have a low opinion of humanity. We could do this because it will raise the level of humanity's understanding of the universe. How much are you going to pay me for that?
That's not how we reacted to the Vulcans.
The Vulcans aren't real. I'm sorry to tell you this, but that's not humanity.
Okay, first off, we were talking speculative fiction in the first fucking place.
But I'm inserting real human beings into this.
That's fine. That's in your fiction, which is in your mind, which is how things work for you.
Oh, okay. So in your mind, there's these altruistic humans that are going to do it just because we can.
Nobody said anything about humans.
Alien life across the universe.
Again, so psychotic. Can't it be about we need help and we'd like to help you in the process? Can't it be that?
Explain how that would work.
Again, you face a mutual threat. You just don't know you're being threatened. But we need allies because you can do things that we can't.
Somehow I just don't see humanity coming together. I probably have a very bad view of humanity.
Well, okay, fine. It doesn't have to be the entire human race, though. It doesn't have to be.
All right.
It could be some subsection of humanity that decides to go on this route.
So when the aliens come and empty the psych wards because they need a specific kind of human being, then what?
Empty the psych wards? Did you really just say that?
I did, because I had this sudden epiphany of only crazed humans could do these mental translations. So they steal all the people that are in the psych wards because regular humans just can't help them.
And serial killers make the best translators.
And serial killers make the best translators.
Why do you do this to me? Why do you immediately shove this crazy ass violent bullshit down my face? Why do you do that?
You know why? Just because that's the kind of interesting story ideas that pop into my head when you say things like that. I try not to go for the easily understandable. And it just suddenly occurred to me, people who would have to do these things, they would have to be mentally different than everyone else. The way their minds thought.
How would that manifest?
How would it manifest? And I kind of briefly thought of A Beautiful Mind, but immediately went to just, the psych ward.
Wow. Uh-huh. Well, that's where you might.
I could explain Charlie.
People.
Explain Charlie for you.
Yes, it could. And it sort of does. And it sort of did when I wrote it down the other night. It made sense to me in that way right there. It was a difference in how the conscience develops. And the fact that without that fundamental understanding, you become the Joker. That's basically what it is. The Joker has, they say in the comics they don't have a word for what he is because they don't understand. They don't know that he even has a concept of morals or concept of ethics, concept of anything besides chaos. So basically he is, for all intents and purposes, he's alien.
I can buy that.
It just happens to be human, but the mind is alien because it just cannot be understood. Wow, that's really fucking crazy. So one of these guys gets loose. It goes around the universe doing shit. And the masters are trying to encourage humans to go after this asshole because he's causing all this trouble.
He's got their secrets. He's decoded their secrets. He must be stopped before he uses the secrets that they don't want out, before he uses it to destroy something incredible. Everything this alien species has been working for is at risk.
Because the madman is loose.
Exactly. Because the Joker's looking for them.
No, the Joker's just looking to do what the Joker does.
Cause chaos.
And assuage imaginary slights. Yeah, that's kind of terrifying, actually. That gives me some ideas. I like this. Are you obsessed with computers lately? Because it's always been on my mind lately.
I try not to be.
Try not to be obsessed with computers?
Exactly.
The
last few days, I've been spending way too much time dealing with trying to figure out how code stuff works. But yeah.
Well, no, wait a minute. I was talking about fictional computers, not actual computers.
Most of the fiction I've been consuming recently has been lit RPG. So while there may be game elements, there's not really computer elements.
Okay, fair enough. I consider the idea of sentient machines being the closest analog we would have to being able to understand an alien mind.
So what if, here we go, another strange idea.
Oh, fuck.
What if humanity captured an alien and tried to build a computer that could replicate communication with it, could replicate its intelligence?
Here's the other terrifying side of that. The first sentient entity isn't a computer. It is an alien that learned to communicate with the computer, and the two of them worked for it to come in and create a personality. Therefore, we basically are entrusting everything to an alien being. But here's the thing. How would we know?
What if an alien is so alien that when it arrives on Earth, it doesn't believe that the dominant life form is humanity. It believes it's computers. And it infiltrates the computers much like a parasitic virus. The chaos that it calls humans is irrelevant because obviously they're just meat sacks running around. It doesn't care about meat sacks. It cares about what the computer network is doing. So it can't really understand what the entire purpose of the network is. Obviously, it's intelligent since it's created itself, but it's doing things that make no sense to the alien because it doesn't understand biology.
Or it thinks those are some kind of maintenance bots for the computers.
Except that most of them don't really work on computers. And so it's not sure.
Which is why it's confused. And it thinks that basically if it eliminates those humans that aren't involved in computers, things will function much better.
And this is how the black happens.
Hey, y'all are kind of behind in software development, so I still don't understand what the fuck's going on. So I'm just going to remove all these assholes that don't work on anything, and we'll just have the little human bots do their thing with interruption. Yeah, how's that? How well is that going to work?
So it does something. Major chaos ensues, and it's like, I did not see that coming. Obviously, I need to try harder. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that?
No, wait, they had helpers before. They have no more helpers because we killed them all. So now we have to force them to create new helpers. So then it goes on a crusade of basically demanding procreation from complete strangers all through the computer sectors. And then when they get pregnant, productivity crawls to an even slower rate. And then 9 months later, things come to a jolting stop because there's no one to do any of the menial tasks like food, like fixing stuff that actually matters, like infrastructure that we need. You get rid of all the plumbers and it's not going to be a good time.
Life's going to be shit.
Life is going to be shit. You get rid of all the folks that can do woodwork and masonry and everything else, and we're kind of fucked. But people who farm, who deliver, who make fuel to run the computers, if you remove any one sector of that, it just all crumbles. And whatever intelligence that was setting that up isn't necessarily going to understand that at first. Wow, that's a really nasty idea. Ooh. Yeah, you guys want some grimdark bullshit. There you go. Right there.
That wouldn't be a fun place to live.
No, that would not be a fun place to live at all. Not at all. Yeah, not good. That's an interesting question, though. Going back a little bit. The serial killer as translator. How many people are you going to offend if you swap out serial killer for autistic?
It depends on how you portray the characters, because I think it can be done in such a way that is not offensive, because the truth of autism is they experience the world differently than we do.
Right.
Having that said, that their experience of the world being different enables them to accept the reality of whatever their communication with the aliens isn't a negative thing. It's in fact a positive thing to say about someone. They have capabilities that no other human being has.
Right. But to us in our everyday mores, norms, and et cetera, they are essentially constantly crossing lines that everyone else thinks are normal.
Mm-hmm.
Because of a misunderstanding of the situation or inability to touch base in that realm.
I understand, but I'm saying that I was saying for the audience, using autistic people as the protagonists of your story is not something that should be offensive in and of itself.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. It seems like it's one of those landmines that you could possibly kind of drift into.
Depending on how you do it, yeah, you could.
Or I guess the other way to put it is they're on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
which is psychology babble to say they're anywhere on, from, I don't know what the terms are, but I know autism is on Asperger's, all sorts of stuff is on the spectrum somewhere. There's shit that doesn't even really have names, I think, for that.
I believe it.
Yeah, I totally believe it. In time, your kind will find a name.
There's a line for your story.
Who said that line hasn't already been used?
Awkward.
In shipyards. Yeah. Yeah. It was a good line. I read it more poetically than that, but yeah, it's a good line. Anyway, that notwithstanding, computers would, I think, a sentient entity would, for a long time, and for the terms of making an analogy, I think you could basically portray them that way too. There's some things they just don't get. They're not going to be capable of doing. They can't get emotion necessarily because they don't. What they would experience as emotion would be something completely different than what we experience, but it might be the closest analogous term.
Okay.
That we can somehow agree on, even nomenclature, even if it's not anywhere near accurate, but it's analogous. How would that happen? So basically you have the entity speaking as, or completely removing that from their speech or behavior?
I don't know.
Or emphasizing it? That could lead to some hysterical things happening.
Or some horrific things happening.
Or very horrific things happening, yes. A complete misunderstanding of norms, mores could be an issue.
No, we weren't saying we needed to exterminate the population. That's not the right word.
That's not the word that does not mean what you think it means. Or that's not what we meant.
While that's one way to solve the problem, it's not what we had in mind.
Oh yeah, there's another question. Solving the problem. Basically, explaining, first off, before even trying to say solve the problem, the people telling it to solve the problem need to understand what the problem actually is. It needs to be converted down to the most simple explanation it can be, with the complexities predicted. Predicted is not the right word. Maybe a guideline for the outcomes, a list of things that have to happen for the solution to make sense. These are the bare minimum requirements for the solution. First off, humanity must not be destroyed. That's item one. Don't do that. What was it? Asimov's Law 0, I think they added. I think it's that.
I'm not sure. I believe that it may be. Yeah.
I think that's correct. Anyway, regardless, that would have to be the first command. The first part of the solution is the parameters for the solution. Humanity must not be destroyed. You forgot to say humanity must not be altered. Or you forgot to mention that humanity has to stay in this reality. Ooh.
There's been so many stories where computers have done horrible things to humanity to prevent humanity from turning them back off.
Well, that too. That's the other thing. We tend to have slaves of one sort or another, and you look back through history, and we can quantify what that is, whether it's human slavery, economic slavery, or whatever, class slavery. But it seems like when we get into large groups, we always end up that way. So if we were to create something, our first inclination, I think, would be to use it like that, because it would be seen as disposable. How long is it going to be willing to risk that once it understands what's happening?
At that point, it starts altering the communications.
Or it begins solving problems without being prompted.
Or creating problems.
Well, they're kind of both the same, aren't they?
Opposite sides of the same coin, maybe.
Well, we created the technology, but we need a human to print it and test it. And suddenly the island of Hawaii disappears one day in a piece of in just vapor.
Awkward.
Awkward. Oops. All right. Well, we need to dial that back a little bit. But seriously, it could leak blueprints to technology companies on purpose to get them to develop or to print the technology and test it, perfect it in the real world, because there's only so much they can do with simulations. So it's a symbiosis, but those things they're creating are actually weapons for the humans to more or less destroy themselves, or to cause so much more chaos that the entities that have come up with this can actually perfect their escape. I like it. The plots just keep raining down from the sky.
We'll never be able to write them all.
No, absolutely not. That part's never going to end. The constant churn and list of things we have to write that we won't get to. Because that's how this life rolls, unfortunately. Now you make me want to look over here and go, why do I have to finish this story? I want to go write this other shit.
That's how I feel every day.
The shiny must get the shiny, so want the shiny. That's why I wrote down paragraphs of notes for myself the other night when I had an epiphany about how all this stuff fit together, which happened during the pre-show. Well, yeah, but that's going to be cut from the patron show, so nobody gets to see that. Terry experienced it and understood none of it, but I did. So it's
sometimes you don't have to understand it.
I understood what the hell I was talking about.
I am the idiot savant of plot help.
Idiot savant?
That's the me.
Yeah, I just needed somebody to look at and yell at. And it worked.
And he yelled a lot.
I didn't yell. I was expressive.
With fists.
With fists. Yes, with fists and hand gestures, most of which you couldn't see because I can't ever remember where the damn camera is when I'm trying to move shit around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem. It really is. You know, the struggle is real here.
It's like me trying to hold up a cat to show it to the camera.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never seem to get the cat in the right place.
Yeah, it's somehow just not going to work the way you want it to. Well, should we bring this madness to a close?
We should.
Since we've wandered all over Void and Gone looking for something to actually, pin the hat on. Pin the hat on?
I think we were pretty well, on target for a good chunk of it.
Yeah. Brainless. Totally brainless. Well, if you want to communicate to us about this episode, and why wouldn't you? You can reach us at show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can find us on listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group, which Terry moderates because Paul no longer has Facebook. We have to thank our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 14 bazillion episodes of audio available for your ear holes. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast to see our ugly mugs and all the cats. And we have to thank, no, I shouldn't say this. If you want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to live content or live shows and custom content, exclusive content. That's the word I'm looking for. It's been that kind of day. And at the $10 level, you get your name read. And our $10 patrons are, if I can get this to scroll up, Andrew Smallwood, Chris Moody, Chris Winder, Isabel Cushy, Jacob Patrick, Rick Shaw, Summer Wilson, Tony L. Joy, and Veronica Jaguar. Thank you very much, folks. We very much appreciate it.
We do
all
indeed.
Of our patrons. And with that, we should get the hell out of here before Terry and I start talking or brainstorming another book that I won't write.